Alright, what is up, guys? Losomanic here, and God, my hair is bad. And today, welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes. Um, I'm gonna change it eventually. This is a series, It's probably gonna be like one of three. There's gonna be like two or three because there's like one more game I want to talk about. This is where I give my hot takes on, or I guess opinions on games. Today we're gonna be talking about Fallout, specifically Fallout 4, because I'm into that at the moment. Although who knows, maybe in the later future I could talk about other games. But right now I'm just talking about Fallout 4. And some of the stuff that just my opinion on whether you guys, whether it is a common opinion or not, or a favored opinion. These aren't uncommon opinions. These are just opinions. And these go in like no particular order. So it's not like going from like, this isn't like going from like the least controversial to most controversial. It's just going in an order of. Sorry, I have my tablet here, and I'm just adding one more in that I forgot to add. I forgot to add onto the list. I have about 5 here. I had 4 originally, but then I just added one more. So yeah. I never thought about this. So first, we're going to talk about one that I feel like I'm going to get a lot of shit for, but before you do that, just hear me out on this, alright? So first one is the Dima's memory section isn't really that bad. For some guys who don't know, the way to get, if you play Far Harbor, one of the ways to further the game is by accessing Dima's memories, but the way to get them is through a puzzle. Now, I will admit, it is a bit unnecessary, but to do it doesn't seem a bit problematic. Like, I really enjoy doing it because I like puzzles. That's just a personal thing of mine. Now, I like I mentioned before, I do find it unnecessary. But to say that no one really likes it just kind of isn't true, because I actually really like it. I always find it weird when someone says no one likes a certain thing, because that's simply not true, because I guarantee you there's at least one person that likes that thing, and I fall under the category of the person that likes the Dima's Memories minigame. There, that looks somewhat better. And the reason, and like I mentioned before, the reason I like it is because I like puzzles. It was very different from the rest, and it takes it takes really good advantage of the sort of what is it, settlement building. And yeah, that's about it. The next one, as I'm trying to get my notes ready. God damn it, stupid tablet. Next one, we're gonna skip that one for later because I have a lot to talk about that one. Is that Preston as a person isn't that bad. I know a lot of people hate Preston, but I think the reason why people hate Preston is just because of the overwhelming fact, or is the fact that he overwhelms you with a bunch of Minuteman Radiant quests, which to me is kind of the point. I understand like why, like it's supposed to be. It has to come from what am I trying to say? It makes sense as to why he would get. He's one of the two sources of Radiant quests, the other being Radio Freedom. That is because like he is an original Minuteman, so he gets everything. He is well known amongst everyone in the Minutemen. He's even more well known than the General, so it makes sense that Preston would give you a shit ton of Radiant quests because of the fact that, well, he gives you a bunch of them because Minutemen are nice people. They're supposed to help the Commonwealth. That is their thing. So it makes sense to have someone like Preston give you Radiant quests. It couldn't be anyone else besides. It couldn't be Ronnie Shaw because of the fact that she's already at the castle where Radio Freedom is. So if you get your information from Ronnie Shaw, eventually you're gonna at some point you're gonna hear from Radio Freedom first. That's just how it is. So it makes sense that as Preston, Besides, I feel like a lot of people would rather prefer Diamond City Radio over Radio Freedom in the fact that we just get constantly bombarded with help. This is Preston gives you like one settlement quest at a time, and add on top of like Radio Freedom, they could give you two. So the fact that Preston only gives you one is kind of it's fine. And yeah, that's pretty much all. But other than that, Preston as a companion isn't really that bad. His weapon is good. His what is it? His companion perk, that's what I was trying to think of, is also really good. But he is also a romance options, which leads over to the next thing that I have, and is that the romance in the game is completely unnecessary. Now, this is coming from witnessing games like Cyberpunk or Mass Effect, where they have romances, but it's tied to the story. For example, in Mass Effect, depending on who your romance option is, at the end of the game, if your romance option is a squad mate from Mass Effect 3, or just someone who's on the Normandy during Mass Effect 3, they will pin your name on the wall at the end of the game. But if it's not someone from who's on the ship, mostly Miranda and Jack throughout the entirety of Mass Effect 3, they have like this nice little like after game image of them looking up at the stars, missing Shepard. That's it. So they ties to the story, and your romance in Mass Effect 2 can be the same romance from Mass Effect 3 if you allow it. If not, then you but your romance option is still interested in you in Mass Effect 3, but it's not like this in Fallout 4. Or take, for example, like Cyberpunk. At the end of the game, depending on your choices and endings, depending on who you call on the rooftop, and the ending kind of determines your relationship with that character. So, for example, if you call up River Ward and you do the Nomad ending or the Aldecados ending, he's gonna want to stay in Night City. That's how it is. But the thing with the romancing is, the only good thing about it is the fact that you get Lover's Embrace, which gives you more experience than Well Rested. That's it. That's all it does. And I know I talk a lot about, like, I like Piper because of Lover's Embrace, but I'm willing to admit the fact that the romancing in this game is completely ridiculous. It's pointless. The only thing I would say what makes this good is if, depending on like for example, if you romance Piper, one of the things she dislikes is the Institute, and she doesn't like leave you if you side with the Institute, but she is disappointed in you for siding with the Institute. However, it would make sense if you romance Piper before siding with the Institute, and then sided with the Institute, Piper's wanting a break because maybe she's just not comfortable siding or being with someone who sides with the Institute. Nothing like that happens. You guys get into an argument, and that's it. That's the whole thing. And for the record, the argument happens whether or not you romance her or not. It just happens no matter what. So I find the whole thing ridiculous as to why there's a romance involved. I do like that they added a romance, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they should have added or done more to it. It's just bland. At the very least, it's PG. But that's about it. And yeah, speaking of romances, there are way too many companions. There's like 12 total. I think. There are way too many to count, and why the fuck do you need that many companions? Alright? To keep it simple, I think Fallout New Vegas has six humanoids and 2 non-humanoids. I think Boone, Arcade, Veronica, Lily, Raul. I'm missing one. I know for a fact I'm missing one. Oh, and Cass. Rose of Sharon Cassidy. Shows you how often I use her. But then you have Edie and Rex. That's 7 right there. Alright? I can give you 7 Fallout 4 companions, including DLCs, and I would still be missing out on a few. This game has more companion. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't like I don't know much about Fallout 1 and 2 to know that they have so many companions. But compared to like but I haven't really seen that many. I'm not talking about like DLC companions for Fallout New Vegas because those are usually temporary. Meaning that like you can't really like keep them outside of the DLC. They're just there. So like once you finish the DLC, you can't really get them back. But with the non-DLC companions in Fallout New Vegas, you keep those before starting a DLC and after finishing a DLC. That's just how it is. You can take them to Hoover Dam with you if you so choose. But sadly, you can't take Joshua Graham with you to Hoover Dam because that would be fun. And yeah, so, yeah. But the fact that there are so many companions, I only stick to like 3. Piper, Nick, and Deacon. Piper because, well, I need Lover's Embrace somehow. And I just like, I feel like the romance is there. Let me just utilize it. Nick, granted, like, unless I'm using like companion characters, Nick and Deacon are only short term. So is Preston. Piper's like my go to like my end game companion for one like my Minuteman ending. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Who knew? But as for the rest, like Nick and Deacon, I don't really keep outside of like Far Harbor or if I'm just getting like with Nick. I only do it for Far Harbor, and then I just dismiss him for someone else. Or with Deacon, I just get his perk, finish the railroad missions because I'm getting a character for all 4 endings, and then I just leave him because I'd rather be on my own. Ooh, that's risky. That's risky right there. Yeah. And yeah, but the other ones I don't use at all. I've never used Old Longfellow long term. I've used Gage for a short time. I've used Ada for like 1 mission. The only one I don't ever use is Strong and Curie. Those are the only 2 or Hancock. I've used maybe once. I've used Hancock once and just gave up. I was tired of it. So yeah, that's it. And finally, this one I'm gonna get a lot of shit for. The railroad isn't as bad as a lot of people say. Now I do understand the hate. Maybe I don't know. My opinion as to like why I think the reason why people hate the railroad has something to do with the Brotherhood of Steel. Now let me explain. All right, the Brotherhood of Steel has been around in every single Fallout game thus far, even in 76. Alright, so it is very likely that the Brotherhood of Steel is the more popular faction out of them all. I'm pretty sure if the Enclave were in Fallout 4 that they would be just as popular because they were in Fallout 1, 2, 3, hinted at like minor group in New Vegas, but they don't show up in 4. And they're a secondary faction in 76. So the only game of like the 4, well, I think they're in 1 and 2. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they are. I guess the Master is really the only... Never mind. Scratch what I said. But for the most part, the Brotherhood of Steel is in every single game. So the fact that the Brotherhood of Steel is a very popular faction, it shouldn't come as a surprise that a lot of people would hate these certain factions that the Institute or that the Brotherhood of Steel hates. Now, don't get me wrong. I do understand that long term, the Railroad is a pretty bad choice for the faction in terms of like what's like so okay. So the railroad blows up the Brotherhood of Steel and the Institute. Now what? What do? They save Sins, but what if like Desdemona and Carrington, Tinker Tom, all the named NPCs in the railroad die? Then what? There's nothing to go off of. There's literally nothing. Like the railroad is just done for at that point. So I do understand, like, in terms of long-term goals in the Commonwealth, they're bad. But overall, like, personally, I just think that, like, the whole idea of hating the railroad is a pretty dumb idea because I just think that the reason why they just don't like the railroad is because the Brotherhood of Steel doesn't. The Brotherhood of Steel is a very, like I mentioned before, a very famous faction, so it's going to be obvious that a lot of people are not going to like what the Brotherhood of Steel doesn't like. For example, the Institute. Even though I see the railroad get a lot more hate than the Institute, because apparently there's no railroad fans. Now look, just because they're my favorite doesn't mean I'm right in this assumption. Obviously, I obviously critique the railroad, and I will critique them again and say that saving just Sins is not a noble goal. Like, saving everyone as well as Sins makes them a lot different. Makes it a lot different. But considering the fact that their goal is to only save Sins because of the fact that they are very mistreated in the Commonwealth and all that stuff, just doesn't seem like a good idea. So yeah, and the whole idea that and all these like biases against the railroad comes from the Institute. The fact that they liberate vending machines is just simply not true. It is given to you by Virgil and all the people of the Institute because they're biased against the railroad because of how they treat their Sins and how they feel about people taking what's theirs. So the fact that people have this bias against the railroad because of what other people say in the Commonwealth is just simply untrue. Because first of all, liberating vending machines, are there even any working vending machines in the Commonwealth outside of the ones that you can make? I highly doubt. But the fact that these people are saying like, oh, the railroad is bad because they only care about vending machines, it's just simply not true, and it is fucking ridiculous. So my phone is about to die, so I'm going to quickly wrap up this video and say that this is simply my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but I just feel so much better talking about it. And I'm not going to defend myself on liking the railroad anymore. So you can hate me all you want. If my opinions piss you off, then I will say that my opinions are morally superior to yours because you are butthurt as fuck. And yeah, with that being said, hope you guys do enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below of your hot takes, unpopular opinions, whatever it is. Aside from the fact that the railroad is the worst faction, I've heard it all. I want something new. I want something fresh and clean. Well, not clean, just something new in terms of Fallout. It can also just be like outside of Fallout 4. It can be 76, New Vegas, whatever. But I feel like since I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 that I just feel the need to talk about Fallout 4. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you do subscribe, hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload because I don't have a schedule. And if you do want to support this channel even more, you can share this video with your friends, especially if they are if you think that they would be into this sort of stuff, or my types of videos. Anyways, Loser Maniac out.